one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, take the roll, please.
Mayor Rowe?
Here.
District 1 Morset?
Here.
2 O'Connell?
Here.
3 Rademacher?
Here.
4 Weiland?
Here.
5 O'Malley?
Here.
6 Burchell?
Here. At this point in our agenda, we take comments and suggestions from citizens present on any item that is not on the agenda. Is there anyone that would like to communicate with the council on any subject? Anyone? Got to ask one more time. Anyone? Yes, there is.
Hello, I'm Evie Nurbin from the Hudson Hot Air Fair, and just wanted to invite the City Council and those in attendance and our audience to attend this year's Hot Air Fair. Things are coming together nicely. Our theme of Mardi Gras, balloons and all that jazz, is really gotten a lot of excitement within the community of Hudson. We have over 30 businesses involved with Taste of New Orleans. We don't have enough days to eat all the food that they're going to be doing with jambalaya and gumbo and things I can't pronounce that are Cajun recipes. The pubs, the retailers, it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful weekend. So I'd like to invite you.
When does that start, Evie, for the audience, TV audience?
February 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. We've already started some of our pre-events and had successful, if not a little chilly, weekend for the kickoff. Something that we're doing new that's coming together very nicely right now is a fundraiser for the community of Hudson to support a medical mission in downtown New Orleans. We had many people who asked if there was something that we could do here. We have our celebration, but there are people that are still in need in another community. So we're going to be having a jazz concert. It's going to be called Jazz It Up for Mardi Gras, a benefit jazz concert and silent auction on Saturday evening, February 2nd at Faith Community Church, featuring Carl Warren, a local pianist.
Oh, yeah.
A visual presentation from screenwriter Sean Otto on the Hurricane Katrina images, the John Devine Quartet from the Twin Cities, and the Brass Messengers, a 10-piece brass band. And all of these people have donated their time in support of this fundraiser, and we have a committee that's working on silent auction, and all of the money is going directly to a medical mission from St. Anna's Episcopal Church, a Catholic group, and Tulane University Medical School staffs a bus in downtown New Orleans for those in need.
Are you going to have a Mardi Gras parade or what?
We are definitely having a Mardi Gras parade. We're working on.
We all should dress accordingly.
We should come to have fun and
bring your beads.
Officially, the beads are called throws, but they can't throw the throws. They have to hand out the throws.
Very good.
So we have many thousands of beads, necklaces that are going to be distributed at the parade.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for the communications. Anyone else? Okay, let's go to the consent agenda items, and Madam Clerk will verbalize those for us.
To approve the regular meeting minutes of January 7th, 2008, and the special meeting minutes of January 16th, 2008. To approve the two-lot certified survey map for subdivision of the property at 486 County Road A as proposed by the Duro Bag Manufacturing Company. To approve the final plat of Red Cedar Canyon 6th Edition, creating 4 townhome lots north of the intersection of Canyon Drive and Canyon Boulevard, with the execution of the final plat contingent on execution of the development agreement. To approve claims for payment in the amount of $1,283,934.19. A detailed description is available in the clerk's office on request. To approve the issuance of 2 regular operators licenses for the period January 22nd, 2008 through June 30th, 2009. Additional information is available on request in the clerk's office. To place on file the quarterly reports of the fire chief, building inspector, and the Public Utility Commission minutes of January 9th, 2008. That is all.
What is your pleasure on the consent agenda?
Move to approve. Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Morset?
Yes.
O'Malley?
Yes.
Weiland? Burchell?
Yes.
Rademacher?
Yes.
O'Connell?
Yes.
Very good. Motion is carried. Let's go to Plan Commission application by Girard Corporation and Bright Keys Development to amend the conditional use permit for Heritage Green Plan Residential Development to permit 24 senior rental townhouses to replace 31 townhouses located west of State Highway 35 and north of Hanley Road and southeast of the terminus of existing Heritage Boulevard. And Denny's going to give us that and the recommendation from planning.
Committee recommendation is for the Common Council to approve an amendment to the conditional use permit for the Heritage Greens Plan Residential Development Permit 24 Senior Rental Townhomes to replace 31 townhomes located west of State Trunk Highway 35 and southeast of the existing terminus of Heritage Boulevard, as requested by Bright Keys Development and Girard Corporation. Mr. Paul Girard from Girard Corporation is here tonight. Mr. Phil Domer is here from Bright Keys, and also there's a few of the residents that appeared at the Planning Commission are here tonight also. Would you like to have a presentation by?
I think Mr. so, and I wanted to point out that there is a brochure in your handouts like this for reference, and we'll have Paul give us an executive summary on it, and then any other comments from anyone who's interested.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the City Council of Hudson. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Paul A. Girard, and I currently live at 420 Fifth Avenue South, La Crosse, Wisconsin. As you may or may not be aware of, we're not a stranger to your community. We have two very successful developments in this community right now with multiple other facilities in and around the area. What I just want to quickly kind of tell you about how this whole thing panned out, and I'll be brief, but we started speaking with Bright Keys sometime back in July about trying to put something on that piece of ground that would make sense. We came up with a conceptual concept that we needed to, have the owners of Bright Keys take a look at, and they said, yeah, let's move forward on that concept. So then what we did, the next step was to develop some floor plans that we presented to the, and Phil helped me out here, back on December 20th, we met with the neighborhood at church. Which church? St. Paul's. So we did a little, background work with the neighborhood because we didn't want to present something that they could not get behind. But so that being said, the topography of the site lent itself to a couple of different options for us. Two 8-unit buildings and two 4-unit buildings. I'll get to those in a minute. But so. Then our next goal was to research to see if this project could be funded through WIDA because it's very competitive. And I found out as of this morning there are 24 applications going into the city of Milwaukee alone for this money. So it's highly sought after. I foresee 90 applications going into the state where they'll fund about 30. Mm-hmm. And what that really means to seniors that would live here is our price points for rent with all of the amenities, we're starting at $375 for 6 to 8 of these units. And we did a study because we were able to achieve some neat new heating efficiencies with electric off-peak deep heat. And we just recently finished our poll of those. And these seniors are actually heating their units for about $25 a month.
Wow.
So consider that being truly affordable. And then their other utility costs are around $20 a month. So, a baseline of, $35 to $40 really keeps it affordable for these folks. And that off-peak rate is really helping assist in this. And you're investing in your community senior housing because the homes that they're in are going to actually be sold then to younger families that the whole reassessment starts all over again within the community. And but I have in your before you a miniaturized version of this facility. I also have within that some examples of different housing projects that we've been involved in, and they spanned anywhere from high-end condos to student rentals to subdivisions to apartments. And our history and track record speaks for itself. We have all very successful developments. We are in 7 states. We're as far as western Montana. So what Phil has up in front of you there is a large blow-up of the site plan. We're trying to create a senior community within a community out there, trying to keep our folks on our piece of property, because we'll have a very nice amenity there in a community room that will have all the furnishings in it. And all of those examples and amenity packages are in front of you. But it will be a first-class, first-rate property. It will be well-managed, be well taken care of. And with that, I'll open it up for comment.
Paul, in the past, you've taken all your projects, and they're not for resale, but you manage them. At least that's been your record in the past. We have managed and will continue to manage these projects. We'll enter into a 60-year LURA, land use restriction agreement, with the state of Wisconsin. Okay. We'll be out there for 60 years. So, does the council have any questions of Paul? None?
Yeah, I would like to just in close say that we have the support of Congressman Kine. We have the support of Senator Harsdorf, and we also have the support of Kitty Rhodes, State Rep.
Okay. Any comments from the audience? I know we had a couple of comments at planning, which I think we took care of. Anyone?
Yes. I'm Mike Skirkert. I live at 30 Founders Green in Heritage Greens. I spoke at the first meeting regarding this, and spent several hours in meetings today with Bright Keys. And my concern about this project, it goes back to the association dues and how that's going to affect the community. We're taking 31 dues-paying properties and now condensing it to 24. Our neighborhood is already in dire straits, as you know, with our association and the funding. I'm just wondering what's been agreed to up to this point. All homeowners right now are paying $498 per year, and so I'm assuming that we can expect $498, times these 24 units to go into the association. And I believe they made some agreement for 10 years. So I want to know the dollar amount, and that it's for 10 years, and then at that 11th year that they're also then still a dues-paying member of the community.
Okay, I wanted to do the same thing that I did in planning, and that is to keep these two things separate. In other words, we're looking at this project, and is it a project that is going to be beneficial for the community? The second part is the problem that they're having today with some existing Bright Keys developments, i.e. some of the properties that you have purchased in the past, right?
Right. I mean, we purchased based on amenity packages being in there, such as a pool and various parks, and that's what our association dues are supposed to maintain. We have amenities that we're not getting use of, like a pool, which isn't put in, but we're paying for those. So now we're taking a bigger piece of property, which in theory would generate 31 dues-paying home sites, and condensing it to 24.
Well, as I mentioned in the Planning Commission, that's really not anything that this particular body can do, according to our attorneys. And we had a situation like this before. Have you met with Bright Keys since the Planning Commission meeting?
We met with them today, and I guess what I want out of this is I got a different story today than
Remember, what you want out of that must come from Bright Keys and not from us. We'd like to hear it, but...
Right, but maybe I'm going off
Or maybe
base.
I'm going too fast. Please.
No, I guess what we want to find out, and I understand the terms that you want to stay on, but for us to... we support Gerard 100%.
Yeah, that's the point I want
to make. But we just really want to know what's going to happen with the upfront money they're getting, because that will greatly affect our community. And I think that's an issue that should be addressed here. Because
could you explain that a little bit for the council?
Yes. I have in an email, or at an initial meeting, the meeting they talked about in December, they mentioned that they were going to get, I have a bunch of different numbers, but around $75,000 up front in an association due. Well, I emailed Phil to clarify that a little bit, and he said there's going to be 24 homes, and I'm just going to read this real quick. It says, these 24 homes is the full amount, currently $498, less the cost related to the pool, $120 annually. So the net annual dues will be $378. And if they want to buy a pool pass for $120, they can do so at that time. Well, today we were at a meeting, and Phil said they're going to be paying full dues, $498. Well, that changes that number. I came up with $120,000. And I'm concerned what they're going to do with that money. Because if in fact it is 10 years worth of association dues up front and it gets squandered away, we're in big trouble 10 years from now. Or are they going to pay dues after 10 years? We don't know that.
Can I jump in, Mike?
And that's
continuing negotiation with Bright Keys and
right. And really we support Girard, but we don't want to get ourselves into a big mess down the road. And 10 years from now they'll probably be gone. And that's something we have to worry about. And I'm trying to look to the future here a little bit and protect us.
Do the homeowners have control of the association yet?
Nothing. The board of directors, which is Bright Keys, control everything. And that's if there was somebody actively from the neighborhood on the board, I wouldn't be as concerned about it. But we have no control.
Okay. Our council wants to make a comment at this point.
Really, for the council, this is a matter between the association and Bright Keys, and what they need is to get a binding agreement, negotiate a binding agreement between the developer and the association regarding what's going to happen with that money. But it's not something the council can require, or should it require or enforce. It's a private agreement in connection with how the association was set up. Now, if Girard is going to make some kind of lump sum payment, these homeowners can certainly negotiate how that payment, where that's going to go, who's going to have control over that money. But it's not something the council can get into.
You are correct, however, we did have a similar situation at Red Cedar Canyon, and we delayed the process for a couple of weeks to allow them to put pressure on Hans Hagen to work out their association issues. That's something that we can consider here as well.
I don't think so.
Well,
why not?
There isn't any basis in the ordinance for either requiring that upfront payment.
I'm not saying that's the case. But we can still delay the approval of this until they get their situation straightened out.
If it's never straightened out?
Yeah, it's not something that we can force an agreement on.
Maybe
I'm not saying that.
Maybe on the record tonight, Phil and Mr. Girard could come up and explain.
Well, Phil has just raised his hand and he's going to make a comment.
Right, and I'm okay with that.
As long as I'm up here, I'm just going to be real brief. What I wanted to do was give the city just an idea of the types of numbers we're talking about and why it is serious. We are running a $40,000 deficit. On October 9th, the board of directors, which is Bright Keys, in their meeting minutes said that they agreed to fund the shortfall of $31,000 and some change, which is what it was back in October. They haven't done that. What we're concerned about is that they are going to be taking a good chunk of this upfront money and funding their shortfall, which we think that should be coming from their own pocket because we have no say in how they're spending the money. We are $25,000 plus over budget in utilities, snow plowing, landscaping. Excuse me. It's an absolutely astronomical number. And there's nothing that we can do about it right now. They are not forced to fund the shortfall. They can keep building it. And that's why we're concerned with where this upfront money is going.
Okay, thank you. Phil?
Mike, would you let me have that email there? That's my email, I believe.
That's an email you sent to me.
Great, yeah. Thank you. Members of the council, I appreciate the chance to address this tonight. You see, we have prepared a letter about that. First of all, I just want to make sure that we're clear about the email that we did send. We talked about giving this as an example, and in fact it says if full build-out was in place. What we tried to do, you don't have the email there that Mike referred to, but he referred to a couple pieces of it, which by themselves certainly paint a different picture. What we were trying to say was there's a lot of ways to spend this upfront money. One way is the way we outlined here. That's assuming full build-out, which isn't today. Let me just finish, though, with what we asked here at the end.
You have to go to the next page to get
Okay. It was simply, Mike, there's a lot of ways to do this. We invite your input. Let's sit down and do it. Previous emails, we did the same thing, and today we did the same thing again. And I'm confident that we will together work out the best way to use the upfront money we negotiated from the Girards. And let me be clear about this. The Girards didn't have to do that. We didn't have to include the land price and shift it to the association, but we did. And we're going to continue to do that because we want the association to function. This is a common problem with associations, that right now we have 25% of the home paying dues trying to pay for 75% of the improvements. And it doesn't add up.
Is there any possibility of putting one of them on that board?
Yes, in fact, we made that point today, and right before we started the meeting, I invited Christine here that maybe she would like to join. She's has, I believe, a CPA background. She's exhibited to us. She's financially astute at reading the balance statements. We're looking for ways to do it. The bottom line is what we said in our material today. Bright Keys and Heritage Greens is a great neighborhood. There is a budget shortfall. We have always funded it. We have always funded it without raising dues, but that can't go on forever. So we're at the growing stage today, and we've invited participation from the homeowners, and I think we're going to get it. Let's $100,000. But how we use that is what's at question. But let's just say that Paul initially didn't, although he wanted to be in Heritage Greens, and I think that's a testament to the great neighborhood it is. It's easier for him to not even be in the association, and we kind of twisted his arm to be in the association. So anything we do to bring the great proposal that Girard has is a good thing for Hudson, and it's a good thing for the association.
Well, I certainly would suggest that you try to accommodate them and get somebody on the board.
I agree. I
just clarify one thing about the board. When Phil said he's asked her to be on the board, is that an official board member, or is that an unofficial board member?
We've asked them.
Voting power.
We've asked them to be part of a finance committee that would make decisions like this and bring them to the board of directors, and help us think.
Final decision.
No, until the homeowners are at such a stage.
But at least you've got a communication approach that hasn't been defined previously.
That's right, and they may have some great ideas. But all we're saying is,
I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but it sounds to me like that's the situation. Like at least you would have somebody talking your side of the question.
And the reason I'm tentative about that is we sat in a year worth of meetings for building the sport court and other things, only to be given promises and promises and promises, and then the bottom falls out at the end. So, excuse me if I'm not so confident in this. And back to this email. The email is very specific of what it says. I asked him, and you can look at it, but it's very specific. I asked him a specific question. He gave me a specific answer.
I think you should look at it. You know, what we've said there is very clear, and there's been a lot of misinformation, and we're going to just put it behind us as if it was misinformation. But to blatantly say that we said things we didn't, it's got to put an end. This is a good proposal for Hudson, good proposal for the Girard Company and Heritage Greens. I hope you'll support it.
Council want to make any comments?
Yes. You mentioned something, right, just kind of on the same line. You're at a 25% build-out. 25% is covering 100% of the dues. What's your build plan for the rest of the what's your build-out plan? Or do you have a build-out plan for the rest of the...
That's to Phil.
Yeah, to Phil.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. It's to bring in proposals just like this one. We actually have approved by the master plan, approved by you folks, 550 housing units approved, but we've only set a master budget of 424 to give us that kind of flexibility.
So your budget shortfall issue is going to be a problem for the next 4 or 5 years as you build out the rest of the...
Well, we need to do a couple of things. We need to, number one, we need to be clear, and this kind of misinformation we need to address. Mike Scuckrud is not right. There is no line items in the budget for the pool. The association is struggling to pay for just what's there. Okay. So there is no pool issues. Yeah. But we have to do two things. One, bring in great proposals like Gerard's to increase the dues paying. And second, we have to probably involve more homeowners in reducing expenses.
Gotcha.
I'll add to that. I was not incorrect in that. If you want to go to the Bright Keys website, you can click on Heritage Greens. It says, imagine the neighborhood you've always dreamed of, or something to that effect. Water trickling, talks about the parks and the pools. All the things in the billboards that were put out in 2005 saying coming this summer, correct? We're in 2008. They're not there. And those, you guys set the Master Association at $498 to cover all those amenities. That's what the facts are.
The facts are, and we discussed it today, the budget is $498, and there are $0 for a pool. And for Mike to stand here and tell us that he's paying for a pool that isn't there is not right.
You backed it up in Mike's.
Okay, let's not get in arguments.
May I make a comment, Mr.
Sure.
Mayor? We've been through this before, as Paul pointed out, in Red Cedar Canyon, and actually it was my motion at the time to postpone it for a couple of weeks, and that was based on the fact of some knowledge I had of the petitioning organization that they would probably go away, and they did. They just went away. I don't think that's the case here tonight, and I completely hear what the homeowners are saying.
Same here.
It's not a good situation. I feel bad about your situation, and I feel bad for us because, unfortunately, our council is right. This is a civil matter over which the city has no jurisdiction. We have nothing in our city code that we can act on to help you in this matter. We simply have to deal with what's before us that does deal with the city code. I am very sympathetic to your plight, but we can't do
Scott,
anything about it.
I think that's the position we took in the Planning Commission, and quite frankly, I think a lot of communication has occurred since that happened.
Okay.
And I certainly would suggest that they put somebody on the board to at least have a communication voice in the future expenditures, and as Phil was saying, it would be part of the Finance Committee. That's just a suggestion, and I certainly have nothing to say about that.
Move for approval under the committee recommendation.
I'll second that.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. I think this is an outstanding project.
Yes.
It's certainly going to help some of the people that are in fixed incomes, and we wish you a lot of luck in that particular project. And I also wish you, the residents out there, that you can come to some agreement with Bright Keys. Thank you very much. Let's go down to Finance Committee. Appointment of JL&M of Hudson was Incorporated of Melissa Dahl as an agent for Twisted Grill, 501 2nd Street. Recommendation from Finance is to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Approval of the vendors for Hot Air Affair events, and we had an explanation from Sergeant Marty as it related to how that was going, what the requirements were, and everything is in order there. And recommendation from Finance is to the approval of the vendors that will be present at the Hot Air Affair.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Excuse me, is that going to be contingent, or is clerk and Marty going to be able to authorize the latecomers, the applications to be reviewed and approved just this one time?
Well, that would be part of the normal procedure anyway, so I don't know if you need council approval for that.
I'll amend
Council
it
does
so
need
that
to approve the vendors.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
So there will be more
But there
vendors
are,
other
yes.
than the list that we
Well, how
have
can
now.
we approve the ones if we don't know that?
I'm asking for permission from Marty and I to do that just this one time.
Okay.
because it's the first year we're doing this, I'll amend it that you and Marty, if everything's okay with Marty and you, that yes, you can approve.
I will go
Okay
along
with
with
the
that
seconder?
simply because we don't have another council meeting before this event occurs.
And yeah, that's why.
Nothing else we can do.
And like I said, since it's the first year, hopefully now after this year.
Well, it's we're breaking new ground here.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. So next year we should.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you were saying. Did you want to make some comment?
I just wanted to let the council know that
talking with Evie from the Hot Air Fair, probably another 12 to 13 more vendors that are hesitant to turn their application in because of the situation we talked about at the Finance Committee meeting. Hopefully they're going to turn them in relatively soon so that we can do this. I just want to let you know that's approximately how many we're looking at doing a review and check on. So, and at the next council meeting, we can bring you that information on how many we did check after this meeting was done.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of Marty? Or
Well, since I wasn't at finance, what are the concerns about the vendors?
Well, the vendors had concerns about giving their driver's license numbers because they were afraid of identity theft. And the whole idea behind the driver's license number was another check for us when we ran a check on them with their name and date of birth to see if there was something, what we call a near hit comes up, just to make sure that we're dealing with the right person when it comes up. Okay. And just so the council understands this, is when I run a check on their criminal history, it's just a general employment criminal history check. And when it comes up, and it comes up clean, it gets shredded right away. According to state statutes, we can't hang on to any of that information, so it gets destroyed immediately.
And they understand that when they give you that information. You're telling them that?
That's what we're trying to tell them.
Okay.
I know it's coming from the Hot Air Fair, it's going to Nancy, and it's coming to me. And I know some of the people that have done the application form have not given us their driver's license information, but I've still been able to have enough information to run a criminal history check, and everything's turned out fine so far.
Very good.
Thank you.
Sure. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Bonus through 2008 engineering rates. We don't have a approval from finance. We did have some discussion. We had a very appropriate comment from Scott, who will repeat that upon my request.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The request for bonus through from BRA, our consulting engineers, is for a fee increase for 2008 of 3.5%. My comment was that goes counter to everything that is happening in the economy today. Things are going south on a lot of people, and we're not seeing increases. Certainly, I don't believe we'll see a cost of living increase this year of 3.5%. What I have seen in various negotiations and contract settlements is that 2% would be much more appropriate, and I put forth 2% as the amount of increase for 2008. This in no way is a reflection on or a deprecation of the work of BRA. It is a reflection of the real world today.
During those discussions, Paul did bring up a comment, and maybe you'd like to repeat that at this time.
Yeah, I think it'd be beneficial for us to evaluate BRA's performance as well as maybe entertain some other engineering firms to see if they'd like to have a shot at our business, to see if we want to continue with BRA or go with a different firm. And I think this is a good time of year to do that since we're looking at increases and approval.
I'd be in favor of that, opening it up for bids.
How long ago was the last time we took it out for bids?
2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
We have done this from time to time, and we have found each time that we would be better served by staying with BRA. That doesn't mean that's always going to continue in the future. That is a good comment from Paul. I'm going to make the motion that we act on the agenda item, which is the engineering rate be at 2% for 2008, a 2% increase over last year.
I have so there must be some, after we've closed a contract with them, completed a contract, we must need to go out to bid legally on a regular basis, don't we?
What's a open-ended contract?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And you can, I mean, just in terms of what's on the agenda and what's not, if you want to put it out for proposals before you make a decision on rates, I mean, that's something that can be discussed and acted on based on that agenda item.
So we can include, I can include that in my motion?
Sure, because
Although
what you're considering, well, to me, it's instead of approving a certain rate and then putting it out for bids, you may want to decide whether you want to wait on the rate increase and put it out for bids.
It certainly tells the competition where we're coming from and where they're coming from. And if we were going to consider other engineering requests, then maybe we should wait for approving a 2%.
I'm perfectly okay with rescinding my motion.
Well, you didn't get a second anyway.
We didn't have a second anyway because we were busy discussing this. It's not on the agenda to put it out for bid.
Well, what's on the agenda
tonight.
is rates.
Yeah.
And the discussion of rates involves, well, maybe we want to wait on this
sure.
and get some other quotes. So I
Okay.
think the agenda item is enough to
So
discuss
I'm okay with making a
how you
motion
wanna
that
proceed.
we have a request for proposals from other engineering firms. We're okay with that. Then I'll
Second
change
to
the
that.
motion.
I'll second.
All kinds of seconds, okay. Discussion.
I think we have
Any comments?
Well, if you
Chuck?
don't mind. Well, first, just a couple of items. I've been here a year. Thank you very much. I've truly enjoyed working with all of you folks. You know, I know our fees aren't the highest. They're probably not the lowest. We're somewhere in the middle. When I was brought in to work with Hudson, I was brought in at category 1 lower than what is typical to match my predecessor's rate in the community.
We appreciate that.
And so you know, there was that, and I you know, hope I've served you well. I did take a couple of look at numbers just for your consideration, and last year I invoiced a total of 598 hours. That was probably about 10%, or it was actually 10% less than in 2006. And also I looked at general engineering, because general engineering isn't project related. It isn't development related type of fees. It's kind of the day-to-day stuff, and that actually went down by 25%, from 109 hours to 81 hours. So basically about 4 hours a week. So again, thanks for your time, and I know that these fees need to work for you folks, and so we're willing to work with you, whatever you need.
We thank you for all you've done as well, Chuck.
You do understand that we're not doing this because we're upset with you.
No,
I just feel almost anything we do, we have to put out for bids. So in this year, because
it's a matter of economics.
Yeah, because of the economics this year.
So, we had a motion and a second?
Mm-hmm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you, Chuck. Let's go to 7, consider amending the IT budget to include unused funds from the 2007 technology budget, and Madam Financier is going to make some comments, or is we'll consider you, Mike, as a second.
I can explain the money and he can explain what he's up to.
Okay.
In the 2007 budget, Mike was a part-time, half-time person. When we budgeted for 2008, we based the 2008 budget on the 2007 budget, but increased him to a full-time person. The only adjustment we made was through personnel costs. And with that, one of the things that Mike had to accomplish, or needed to accomplish with being full-time, was to get our IT department up to snuff and getting our emails and all this information that he has to keep available to us. One of the things he needed was to have Microsoft Exchange, which costs $9,500 a year. I believe it's a hosting outside service for the city. That was not in the 2007 budget, and so what we're requesting is to be put into the 2008 budget so he can proceed and IT. And with that, we had the $20,000 left over from 2007. I'll be explaining where the preliminary 2007 budget is coming in with the actual expenditures a little bit later. I feel comfortable saying that it's okay if we take the money left over. Basically, it's coming from fund balance. There is sufficient fund balance for the city at this point. So if you want to ask him what he's up to, then you can.
Does that mean when he goes full-time, he doesn't need that second individual?
We didn't have a second individual budgeted.
No, but he had a guy that was helping him, you just said.
I think he can explain what the purpose of that person is, but I think he's assisting him in switching people over into the network system, because there's a lot of us that are still outside the network.
Well, do you want to enlighten us a little further, Mike?
I think what you're talking about with a second individual, I've had
over the last few months, several people that have come in just as contractors for several hours. When we switched over to, on the second and third floor, to a true client-server network, we needed to do that in a short period of time.
Okay.
And so that's what they were for. No, we don't have any individuals that will be any kind of long-term. There may be times when I have to do 50 computers in a weekend that somebody will come in, but we have that budgeted. What Betty was talking about is hosted exchange. Right now our emails, Press Center receives our email. We go to their server, pull the email down, and it goes to the individual computer. And so we have no way of actually archiving or retrieving. If somebody needed emails that had come in, we don't have that centrally managed. What Microsoft Exchange, and the reason we're hosting it, is it's less expensive than if we buy it, that if I maintain it, than if I do the storage. So this, all emails will come into one source. It will come down to your computer, but it will also reside on a secure server. Those emails will be archived, will be retrievable. We'll be able to put everybody on a city email account, so all the council, everybody that gets email, it will be able to come through that. So we will have archival copies of all emails. We will have the ability to retrieve them if we need. So that's, pardon?
Can you speak to the legislation that's behind that?
Within the last year, the legislation has changed. Basically, the Electronic Retrieval Act, we're responsible for any communications, electronic communications, for archiving them, for storing them, for providing them if requested. And this will fulfill that. So we will have our emails available, archived, and we'll be able to retrieve them if needed.
How long do we have to keep those?
We normally would treat it like a piece of paper.
Yeah.
So
same applies, Counselor?
Yeah, it doesn't matter the format.
Whether it's electronic or an actual piece of paper.
I just thought maybe in the legislation they had some different amendment or whatever.
No, okay. It's treated as if it were paper, but in the same way we have to be able to provide it and to retrieve it and to store it.
So what I hear you saying, Betty, is the $9,500 is a carryover from last year that would take care of everything that you're talking about?
Yes.
Well, it would be recurring expenses.
It would be an annual. It would be.
I understand it.
Right.
Annual,
yes.
But
yes.
Could I ask a question of Mike?
Yes.
Mike, I'm sure you're aware, because I'm aware, that there are commercially available email. You know what I mean when I say email client.
Right.
Okay. They're commercially available email clients that archive, that distribute to separate mailboxes. My company operates with one. Mm-hmm. And they don't cost anywhere near $9,500. Why don't we just purchase an email client program?
You mean just purchase the software? Microsoft Exchange, if we buy the software and the licenses, the software is $2,500 to $3,000, and then we pay per user for a license.
Why would we continue to buy from the evil empire?
There are other things available. Google has. It's mainly an issue of time, the time to maintain that. To do it on a fairly large scale, we would have close to 80 to 90 email accounts by the time we're done. To do it, we would have to completely convert what we're doing, and this is right now the least expensive. It allows the users to continue using Microsoft Outlook.
When would you energize this system?
I would put it in as soon as we had the money for it, so I would probably within the next month install it. And that's...
Comment, counsel?
Well, and it does fulfill the legal requirements of data.
Yes.
Document storage.
One last comment for Mike. Mike, I'm going to vote against this, and it has nothing to do with your work performance, which I hold in high regard, as I think you know. It is simply, I have to voice my opinion of a system that has been crap ever since I got on the board, council here 8 years ago. I say this every year. It's still crap, and we keep throwing more and more money at a system that has yet, I think you'll have to agree, has yet to be fully operational. It still isn't fully operational. So it has no reflection on you. Wanted to make that clear.
Scott, I think that one thing that might be valuable here is to get a basis for the understanding of where we are, as a system. Because I know Mike has been working a lot of hours to stabilize our infrastructure. So I think that statement should be backed up. I think that Mike could come with a nice presentation of the things that have changed in the last year.
Mike has affected a lot of positive changes, and I'm very supportive of the work that he's done. But, we're asking for a silk purse, and he's working with a sow's ear.
Are you talking about Microsoft versus...
No, I'm talking about the system that we have set up. Right. That is clearly...
You do that every year. And I agree with you.
Yeah, because it's never worked properly. And it's 8 years later, we're saying the same things, except we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in the interim of taxpayer dollars that I think we could save by thinking along different lines. But I'm not trying to change the world tonight. I'm just saying I'm going to vote against this because it's a continuation of a faulty system.
But I think a presentation of where we're at as a system and where we've come would be very valuable. I'd like to see that.
Yeah,
I agree.
Okay. Same here.
Okay.
I'll move.
Glad to do that.
What are you going to move?
I'll move the staff to recommend the $9,500 for expenditure and to be funded with the unused funds from 2007.
You get that?
Pretty much.
Second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Any discussion or comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's
No.
carried. Oh, we got one no, I'm sorry.
I promised you that you would.
Let's go to Public Works Committee, Carmichael Road Improvement, St. Croix County proposal.
We have two items on Public Works on the agenda tonight, and actually both of them are deferred. They are intertwined, the Carmichael Road improvements and the cost estimate for the Carmichael Road Mill and Overlay project. As it interfaces with County Road F Cooley Trail, we have some additional facts we have yet to determine. Public Works took no action on these items.
Let's go to Public Safety. Consider removing 2 on-street parking spaces on the southeast side of St. Croix Street at the 3rd Street intersection.
Yes, we're having some blockage problems, and as far as people being able to see as they're turning on to St. Croix Street. And the recommendation from Public Safety is that we post, at least temporarily due to the snow and so forth, a temporary sign that says no parking from here to corner, which will be replaced by a permanent sign in the spring when the ground thaws.
How many feet is that?
It's
or like
roughly,
2 parking spaces?
Yeah, 2 parking spaces,
okay.
roughly 18, 20 feet. We do have someone in the audience here who would like to speak on this behalf of this, but I will make a motion that we approve this recommendation from Public Safety.
There's a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion. Betty?
Being I am the homeowner that this is affecting, I'd like to have a say in it. Driving that street every day and taking that corner every day, I really don't have a problem with you putting the signs up there. The fact is nobody usually parks there anyway, maybe at Christmas, maybe at Thanksgiving. The thing is, I don't think the problem is this. I'm kind of going to volunteer that I think it's my tree, my pine tree that's sitting there, that will be coming down. So just to let you know, that's part of probably that blockage as you're taking your right. So.
Also, I believe Sherry would like to.
Could I make a comment first before we hear the audience?
Let's get to council first, and then we'll get.
Okay.
I believe the same line of. Thank you for your comment about your tree, Betty. And I think we can remove this if everything works out. We can remove the signs after the tree comes down. If that turns out to be the case, I think this line of sight issue is exactly the same across the street on the northern side of St. Croix. So I would like, at the end of our discussion, that if we could amend the motion and second to both the north and southeast sides of St. Croix where it meets 3rd Street.
Just a comment, but there doesn't seem to be as much traffic on the north side as there is on the south side.
Well, that's because many people turn. There's Hudson ends 4 blocks from there, and so there are fewer people to come there, but it's still the same safety issue. It's exactly the same safety issue.
Sure.
I live on the north end of 3rd Street, at the very end, actually. Not the very end, 2 houses from the end. And I leave to go to work at 3:30 on Wednesday and Thursday afternoons, just when Willow River and St. Pat's are letting out. And I'm just trying to cross over St. Croix Street to go south to Vine and go up to the hill to my job. And I know the parents come to pick up the children from school, especially in inclement weather. I'm sure they park there just for a few moments. The kids come jump in the car. Otherwise, the rest of the day, there's no cars there. It's really just kind of at school time when they pick up their kids. I just know there's been several times, and I'm driving an SUV, that there's the cars that are parked there are either always large cars, and I really don't think it's your tree. It's the vehicles. I can't see around, and you're creeping out until
and you're high besides.
And I'm high besides, and
No,
by
the
the time
car
I
is
can,
high.
well, okay.
Glad you caught that,
By
Scott.
by the time
I wasn't
I'm-
aware of anything like that.
That's because there isn't anything like that.
By the time I can see, I'm in the middle of the street, and heaven forbid I get smacked or somebody, smacks me or whatever, So it's just, I think it's both southbound and northbound on 3rd Street that just needs, especially maybe just that time of day, between 3:15 and 3:45. Maybe not an all-day long type of thing.
Safety want to consider that at this
Well,
point,
we
or
actually
what?
did discuss that in the meeting, and the recommendation from Public Works representative was that they didn't feel like it was an issue.
How about the acting chief? You got any comments?
Well, you always want to consider what's best for the overall safety, and if removing those spots is better for the community, I'm all in favor of it.
Okay.
I think that during the Public Works looked at it at a certain time of the day, and I can see, just visually, you can see you'd have the same issue coming either way. So I would like to see us
See that included?
reconsider or change the current motion to include both sides of the street.
For any length of time? Is this a trial basis, or is this permanent, or what are you trying
Depends
to
on if
recommend?
the cars get shorter over the next couple of years, I guess.
Or higher.
I'll amend if it's an issue and it appears to be from the residents, I'll amend my motion to include the northeast corner as well.
Okay, is that okay with the seconder? Whoever that was?
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Second one is consider Wells Fargo Bank's request for 15-minute parking spaces on 2nd Street.
Yes, the request is to, just as you said, have up to 2 15-minute parking spaces in front of their main entrance doors. The recommendation from Public Safety is to convert 1 space on 2nd Street, right adjacent to their building, to a 15-minute parking space. And I will make a motion that we accept that recommendation.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion.
One of the reasons they wanted one on Locust Street, we thought, well, right across the street, there's 2 15 minutes at Mickelson.
Yeah,
so.
and they use that, people use that quite frequently, whether you're going to the bank or Mickelson's, right? Comments?
I would like to ask the Wells Fargo Bank to, in a sort of a quid pro quo, to put an additional signage out emphasizing that it is right turn only out of their automobile banking lanes, because there have been some issues of people turning to they do have an arrow painted there, but I think we need a sign for them to put up at their machines saying
right turn
you
only.
must turn right only. People turning left, it's a hazard. There's a visual impairment problem, and I've seen some near misses there.
Like you always say, it's not on the agenda, so I would recommend we turn this over to safety for future action.
Yeah.
Well, put that on the agenda.
Sorry about that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Go to Park Board, unfinished business, old business, new business. We're going to have a closed session, but before that, let's clean up a couple of things. Communications recommendations of the mayor. The Packers lost They played terribly. They weren't worthy of playing in the Super Bowl if they played the way they did last night. I just absolutely was. I was almost throwing things, but I did win some money on it, but I didn't want to win it that way. It's really too bad. Today is also Martin Luther King Day, which was well observed in the United States. A lot of speeches on that, and that's all the recommendations I had. Before we go into closed session, communications and items for future agendas. Any alderperson without?
Just going to ask Denny again about the traffic study that was going to be here in January for Vine Street and Carmichael Road.
Still have a sick individual, I believe.
Is that right?
On Friday, I received the final draft, and I just want to make sure I review it to be going out. Also, the recommendation on Vine Street, 3rd and 4th Street stop signs came in today, and also the wastewater treatment plant study. So you'll be receiving all those reports within a few days.
Okay, great. Thanks, Denny.
I'd like to have a closed session our next meeting to discuss. I'd like to have us invite Tom O'Connell in. I'm concerned about where we're at with our chief of police position, just to give us an update. Secondly, to discuss an assistant chief captain position, because if this drags out a long time, I can't discuss, I guess. We'll worry about that later. That's item number 2. And thirdly, I think it'd be prudent for us to have a review of our city administrator's performance and make sure that we're good there, because we haven't done that in a long time. So,
okay. Anyone
those
else?
3 items on the agenda.
I can just provide an update on the Police and Fire Commission is meeting Wednesday morning.
Wednesday morning.
I know, but I like to have him come here and explain.
Just as an update, I assume it's our assumption that they will be setting interview dates.
I have one thing that I had asked the police department to send Inspector Krupich up to the 13th Street apartment buildings where we've been having, I believe it was 67 calls of service this last year, to go through there. So I'd kind of like to address that issue, either public safety and start toughening our
Is the safety committee getting that kind of information for review or what?
Hopefully.
No, I said, have they?
Not yet. This is just today.
Is just okay.
Well, we do have my comment is we do have a report by Dave Krupich in our packets, and he lists in the last quarter 170 calls total in the city.
Are we assistant chief? Are we putting citations to these people that are?
If it merits public nuisance violation, we will issue citations for it.
Have you been?
I have to speak with Lieutenant Larson if he has issued it, but he is the one who's in charge of now monitoring the multi-housing program, the first phase where we're notifying the landlords.
Because I think that was one of the requests when we had that landlord meeting, right?
Yeah, it was. The landlords requested.
They said, give me the citation and I'll correct the problem. I believe that was what they said.
I
Okay.
don't think they wanted the citation, but they want to correct the problem.
Well, they requested this citation specifically. Anyone else? Well, we're still looking at opening.
Exit 1A.
Exit.
1A. Yes.
City attorney? City administrator?
The city clerk has asked that I remind all the citizens about getting their dog and cat licenses. It's that time of year to do that.
Gee, Scott usually does that. You know.
Well, I'm amazed at the fatality rate of cats in Hudson because they apparently all die just before Christmas.
They did.
Because nobody applies for a license.
And if any animal is caught at large, there are fines.
$75 fine, isn't it?
It starts at 75 and goes up.
But just a reminder that can be done here at City Hall. We do have the forms.
Okay, we are going to go into a closed session pursuant to 19851C Wisconsin Stats to discuss the 2008 collective bargaining agreements with the Teamsters Union for its clerical and public works units, and 2008 compensation for non-representative employees, and 3 training issues related to the interim police chief.
So
Need a motion to go into close.
So moved.
Second.